Imagine the perfect American family. A devout father, a loving mother, 6 children. They live in Virginia, go to church, and attend school events. Now, imagine that this father, a senior FBI agent with 25 years of service, is sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms in the most secure prison on the planet for espionage that the CIA director called perhaps the most disastrous intelligence failure in U.S. history. He wasn't just accused of betrayal. He was accused of systematically, over 22 years, selling America's most sacred secrets, first to the Soviet Union and then to Russia. His actions led to the executions of American assets, compromised billion-dollar operations, and jeopardized the entire national security framework. But the most terrifying part of this story is its double life. To his colleagues, he was the undertaker, a boring computer genius. To his family, a strict but loving father. But in the shadows, he led another secret life filled with depraved fantasies and lies. So who was he? A cold-blooded traitor? Or a man with a broken psyche, playing his own deadly game? This isn't a story about ideology. It's a story about a bottomless ego hidden behind a mask of mediocrity. Today, we will dissect the mind of the most dangerous mole in FBI history and find out how he hunted himself, reveling in his own impunity, and why his last words as a free man were, "What took you so long?"
To understand how Hanssen became invisible, you have to understand how he was taught to be. He wasn't born into a world of big money or power. He was born in Chicago in 1944, in the shadow of his father, a domineering police officer who despised his own job and despised his son. His father constantly told him he was worthless and would never amount to anything. This wasn't just bullying, it was programming. Every humiliation was a brick in the wall of his future arrogance. He was a classic outsider, awkward, socially inept. He lived in a fantasy world. While other kids were playing ball, he was devouring spy novels and studying ciphers. He dreamed of becoming James Bond, not because he wanted to save the world, but because he wanted to possess secret knowledge, power, to be smarter than everyone else. In 1976, after a few years with the Chicago Police Department, he joined the FBI. The dream came true, but reality was boring. He didn't become an action hero. He became a clerk with a gun. But it was in this grayness that he found his superpower: computers. In the late 70s, for most FBI agents, a computer was a confusing and intimidating box. For Hanssen, it was a universe. He became the ghost in the machine. He created and controlled the Bureau's information flow. He knew where the secrets were because he built their digital vaults himself. His colleagues, the jocks from the operational divisions, looked down on him, calling him a desk jockey. And he paid them back in kind, secretly despising them for their stupidity and incompetence. The seeds of arrogance had found fertile ground. And, on the outside, a perfect facade: a devout Catholic, a member of the conservative organization Opus Dei, a model husband and father, a man who never swore and never drank alcohol. Colleagues called him the Undertaker for his perpetual black suit and funereal expression. No one saw the cracks in this mask. No one knew that at night, this righteous man anonymously unleashed his filthiest fantasies in the first internet forums, sharing intimate details about his wife with strangers. This was his first betrayal. He was learning to live a double life, separating the facade from his true, dark self. This ability to compartmentalize, to be simultaneously a saint and a sinner, a patriot and a traitor, would become his greatest weapon. He was ready. All that was left was to take one more step. Hanssen's treason didn't start with recruitment, not with blackmail. It began with a business proposal. In 1979, needing money and craving validation, he takes his first step into the abyss. He sends an anonymous letter to the GRU, Soviet Military Intelligence. No ideology, no sentiment, just business. I am offering you information. The price is $100,000. As a demo of his product, he exposes General Dmitry Polyaskov, Agent Top Hat, the CIA's most valuable source inside the USSR during the entire Cold War. A man who risked everything for America for 20 years. For Hanssen, this wasn't murder. It was a line on his resume, a move that proved his value. Polyaskov was arrested and executed, and Hanssen received his first $20,000. He got a taste of not just money, he got a taste of power over life and death. However, his wife accidentally finds the cash. Hanssen, as he would in the future, puts on a brilliant performance of remorse, swears on the Bible, and goes quiet for a time. But it was only a reprieve. In 1985, he's back in the game, but now he's different. He's no longer a supplicant, he's a partner. He writes to the KGB, and this time, his product is the entire US security apparatus. He gives up the names of KGB agents working for the FBI, Valery Martinov and Sergei Mutorin. They are immediately recalled to Moscow and executed. He reveals the details of an operation to bug the Soviet embassy. He exposes information about spy satellites. But most importantly, he gives up the FBI's entire operational playbook. How the Bureau works, how it recruits, how it surveils. He didn't give the enemy a fish, he gave him a fishing rod. And here begins the most insane act of this theater of the absurd. The FBI realizes there's a mole of an unprecedented level inside the organization. A special task force is created to catch him. And who do they appoint as one of its leaders, responsible for analyzing all the data? Robert Hanssen. Imagine it. He sits in meetings and listens as the Bureau's best minds theorize about who he is. He reads the files on other suspects. He sees how far they are from the truth and carefully leads them down false trails. This was the ultimate form of arrogance. He wasn't just spying, he was playing God with a system that considered itself omnipotent. He was a genius of tradecraft. Unlike other spies, he never met his handlers. He communicated through dead drops and encrypted ads in newspapers. He constantly changed his ciphers. He was a ghost. In 1994, the FBI arrested CIA spy Aldrich Ames and, with relief, blamed him for all the failures. But Hanssen, Ramon Garcia, remained in the shadows. He laid low, but he didn't quit. He waited, and the world had no idea that the most dangerous spy of the Cold War was still at large.
But a ghost can't disappear forever. After Ames's arrest, there was a lull at the FBI. But by the late 90s, it was clear the nightmare wasn't over. Important operations were still failing. Someone was still leaking information. It could only mean one thing. There was another mole in the Bureau, perhaps even more dangerous than Ames. But how do you find a ghost with no face? The breakthrough came from the past. In 2000, the FBI took a desperate step. They paid a former KGB officer $7 million for access to his personal archive, the file on the mysterious agent Ramon Garcia. It was a gamble, but it paid off handsomely. Inside the folder, the FBI found a treasure trove. There was an audio cassette with a recording of a brief conversation between Ramon and his handler. There was the trash bag in which the spy had once delivered documents. Forensic specialists lifted a fingerprint from the bag. It was run through a database of all government employees. A match. Robert Hanssen. Voice experts compared the recording from the cassette with a recording of a lecture Hanssen gave at the FBI Academy. A match.
In an instant, the ghost had a face, and it was the face of one of their own. FBI Director Louis Freeh, upon learning this, said, "I thought I was going to have a stroke." Shock turned to ice-cold fury. Now they didn't just have to arrest him, they had to catch him red-handed, with all the evidence. Operation Greysuit began. Hanssen, the master of tradecraft, was under the microscope for the first time in his life. Hundreds of agents watched him 24/7. Bugs and cameras were installed in his office and car. A young assistant, Eric O'Neill, was assigned to him, whose sole job was to spy on the spy. He had to steal Hanssen's Palm Pilot and copy its contents. Every day for him was like walking on a razor's edge. The FBI waited for Hanssen to make his next move. And he did. On February 18, 2001, Hanssen drove to the park to make another dead drop. As he walked away from the hiding spot, the trap snapped shut. He was surrounded. Game over. His first reaction wasn't fear, not surprise. He simply looked at the agents and said, "What took you so long?" In that single sentence lies the entire essence of Robert Hanssen. Arrogance right to the very end.